All right, I'm going to name a band, and you tell me if they were punk, new wave, ska, pop, rock, or something completely different. Oh, never mind that. Actually, I'll tell you what they were, a phenomenon, and the biggest band of their time, and perhaps they continue to be one of the biggest bands in this time. And joining us live is the man who played guitar through all of that success, and here to talk about his movie, which is based on his memoir. It's called Can't Stand Losing You, Surviving the Police. That's the band we're talking about. Hello to Mr. Andy Summers. Sir, a
Hi
pleasure
there.
to speak with you.
Yeah, hi.
It's a distinct honor, honestly. There really never was a great big box to put the police in. You were not a bunch of angry bottle-breaking punks, were you?
Not really. It was a nice mask to start with, but it wasn't the truth.
Yeah. Right. No, it wasn't. And it is striking because you had a sound that was groundbreaking at the time because we had the punk sound, we had the new wave sound, and the hard rock bands were struggling to figure out where they were going to go next. And then there was the
Right.
pop music sound, and somehow your music straddled all of that and just became bigger than life.
Yeah. Well, we were lucky. We were very lucky to meet each other, and obviously, this random meeting, produced a chemistry that I guess a lot of people look for, but it was completely non-formulaic. I mean, I guess our credo was that we just didn't really want to sound like anybody else.
Yeah, yeah, and certainly you did not. Stuart Copeland was the drummer, and Sting, of course, and the music was enduring. Had you ever dreamed that you would be part of, I guess, the fabric of popular music?
No. Well, I guess if you grow up in England with all this stuff that goes with growing up in the UK, maybe it's a sort of a dream that you're supposed to get there, but, very few people do. And, I guess we all grew up with the Beatles and that as the model. Certainly in the Police, when we started in the middle of the punk scene, we were just hoping to stay alive and, get a gig and be a decent band. Where it went, of course, we didn't even imagine that. So it was all incredible.
And the timing was so right because it seemed like, at least here in America, and I can't speak for how things were in the UK and in other parts of the world, we were thirsting for new sounds at the time.
Well, it's an interesting moment because we did come out of that scene, and obviously it sparked the interest of the people in the US and the media in the US, like, what's this punk thing that's happening in London? And so sort of historically what happened is we did come over right in the middle of all that and played at CBGB's, and we were following on the tails of the Sex Pistols, of course, who'd come over and just about scared the wits out of every radio station in the US. And then we turned up with this great song called Roxanne, and we're out of the punk scene, but we're, let's say more approachable. We could articulate our feelings well at the radio stations, and, all these things sort of combined to get us started.
Right. The personalities were great. But let's focus on the personalities for a moment because as often happens with rock and roll bands, it wasn't all fun and games, and the personalities started to clash. Tell me, at what point, Andy, did things stop being the Police and they started being the Sting Show?
Yes, well, it's a fair enough point. I'd say it's about sort of halfway through touring with Ghost and the Machine, and then we had to come up to the fifth album, the Synchronicity album. Somewhere in there, I think we were starting to find it all very difficult. We were sort of separating out, Although, we were still the Police. We still had another album to make, and everybody was expecting us. They built kind of an industry around us, if you like.
Right.
But there was no getting out of it. And it's sort of ironic, and I've realized this over the last few interviews. Actually, we signed up to A&M to make 5 albums. That was the contract, and that's what we did. We made the 5 albums. We didn't get into, are we going to make another 5 after this, go on for the next 30 years or anything like that. We made the 5 albums that we were contracted to make, and that was sort of it, although, of course, they own all the records. So there was a sort of rather weird sort of anal retentive, neat and tidy thing going on, as well as all the difficulties of, well, as you said, we were a phenomenon. We weren't just a band with one little hit. It was a worldwide and a raging machine that we were dealing with.
Yeah. All right. And so you had your clashes with personalities, and Sting clearly was breaking out as he was the Greek god of music at the time. And I don't mean this as a personal dig at all. I don't mean it to be disparaging at all. I mean, I know who you are. I know who Stuart Copeland is. A lot of people do. But for the pedestrian music listener who reads People magazine, I think a lot of those people may know the name Trudy. What? Well, I don't even know it. Help me with the Sting's wife's name. Trudy Schuyler, is that her name? Yeah. A lot of people might know that name before they know your name. Does that ever get under your skin?
That's never occurred to me. That's a fresh one. I've never heard that said before.
Well, I'm just imagining that might be the case. If it's not,
well,
I mean,
I can play guitar in the band. Then that's what I say.
Yes, exactly. Fine. Right.
That's the head get on.
She could play for a long time. Now, ultimately, the band broke up, and I apologize for the Trudy Schuyler thing. It was just a thought that occurred to me that not people aren't all that tapped into stuff. But ultimately, the band broke up. So, what happened next for you?
Well, of course, there was a period of trying to process this amazing experience we'd all been in for many years. Came out of that, and it was like facing the abyss for a while, very difficult. But the way I sort of got over it was going back to music, going back to recording and sort of getting on with the job again. That's what I know how to do, and that's what I knew how to do. And I went back to recording, and ultimately touring and, continued life as a musician. That's really what put me back together after that incredible experience.
Put you back together. Does that imply you fell apart a little bit for a while?
Absolutely, yeah. When I think back about my sort of state of being back post-police dissolution, it's, pretty incredible, actually. I was sort of drifting around like a ghost for a while there, I think, and then finally got back with it.
Yeah. A ghost out of the machine.
Right. Well, there you go, yeah. It's having to do the job and get back and be good and try and create art. That's you got something real to deal with rather than just, being someone who's a bit famous,
Yeah. And then there was the reunion. I imagine there were a lot of forces pushing for that to happen, business forces and others. But was everybody cool with it? I mean, you were older, more mature about stuff, all of you, or was it awkward or even crowded on the stage?
Yeah, and I like that you used the word cool, because that would be great. I don't know if we like cool. I mean, we got back into the, you can talk about it as long as you want, but the reality is we got in a room together and we had to do it again. And now it's not the playing of the music, because we can all do that standing on our head. It's the sort of psychological coming together, like we're really going to be a band, we're going to go out, we're going to be together, we're going to play this music, and we're going to do it. And now how are we going to do that psychologically after all this time?
Yeah.
Because it's a bit like going back to the classroom, like day one, and we're all in there with the teacher, like having to start all over again.
Yeah.
But, we did deal with it. It was a little rocky at the beginning. It wasn't easy. And, you have to sort of hold on to your sense of self in the first few weeks. And, it started to smooth out as we started to play. And, suddenly we had this incredible success in our hands, and off we went, and that's really kind of what smoothed it all out.
I tell you, the trailer for Can't Stand Losing You, Surviving the Police, is very compelling. We have it posted on our website on the Show Fun page, and I can't wait to see it. And it's coming out soon. Is that correct?
It's out already, and it's on in 2 cinemas in Los Angeles at the moment. It's at the Laemmle Royale in West Los Angeles, and it's at the, what do they call it in Pasadena, Laemmle in Pasadena.
Right. Okay. And you're doing a Q&A tomorrow in Southern California. Isn't that correct?
Well, I'm doing one at the Laemmle Royal on Sunday night, the 12th, and then Thursday night, 16th.
Fantastic. All the best to you on this, and we're going to watch it for sure. And real quick, will there be another police reunion?
I think there will be.
Oh, you heard it here.
It's not shocking. I don't know why I'm saying that from a completely gut feeling about it, and I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right.
We seem to be cyclical.
Andy Summers, a pleasure to speak with you. Good luck with the movie, and thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you, Phil.